Good morning or good evening. Welcome to the show. This is Psycho Silver. My name is Jerome. Thank you for joining me. I do hope that today you're counting your wealth in ounces. It's so important right now. Also, that you're holding your word, especially to yourself. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. I got a bunch of news for us. We got the silver news, the gold news. We're watching geopolitics. We're looking at the bonds every day. It's the story of the bonds. That is the financial theme or story of this little mini era that we're in. It's all about the bonds. And what does that mean? Well, we are finally seeing the unraveling, although it's not complete. It's just barely getting underway, at least for us. We're seeing the unraveling of sovereign debt. And so when we say there's a bond crisis in the UK, there's a currency crisis in Japan and many other places. In fact, we can pull up that chart. The bond yields in all the countries around the world, I would say at least 80% of them, they're all inverted. And so someone did point out to me, and someone that I respect pointed out to me, just because the yields are inverted doesn't mean that there has to be a stock market crash or the equities have to go down. And I agree with that fully. It's true, but it's telling you there is some breakage. Things are not working the way they're supposed to in sovereign debt. And that is the thing that really kept me into stacking precious metal. I've always known about the central banks and fiat currency and fractional reserve lending and the shady banking practices, the way they give the loans. There's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of derivatives, short positions against the metals and short positions against companies that they don't want to succeed. I've known about all that, and I bet you do too. Everyone knows about that. But the thing that's really kept me into the precious metals and why I kept going on precious metals, even when it was so tempting to want to be in crypto. And I got in there a little bit and I did okay. I did not do nearly as well as I know a lot of you did. And that's okay. I made my choice. And I think it's easier to feel regret when you were uninformed. But I feel as though as I was informed. And nobody knows the future, right? And I'm just doubling down. I'm tripling down on the precious metals. And it's because of the debt. That's the thing that I know this has to end. And how it ends, I'm not sure. But it feels an awful like this is the beginning of the end. Maybe more of like the beginning of the end of the end. If that makes sense. Seventh inning. Or it's the first minutes of overtime. Something like that. But in studying precious metals and wanting to know more about sound currency and about why it's needed, like what is the role of these financial institutions and banks, and why money itself is important. And I don't mean that as in having money. I mean the utility that is the money itself, why it's important. I'm learning a lot about, and I wanted to study this anyway. I'm learning a lot about poverty. And what I will say about that is it's not very fun to research poverty. Real poverty. There's a lot of books about how to get rich and how to start a business, and this is how you should invest, and millionaire mindset this and 10x that and all that stuff, right? But the real story of human beings is cleanliness, is practical nutrition, is simple medicine, is clean water, and is energy. And so I think we've been given this expectation of a futuristic world, but I think it's a little messier and a little dirtier than I thought. I can't speak for you. And I think that we will have very interesting technologies and that they're probably already here. And I think probably that the divergence between the wealthy and the regular people is wider than we actually can acknowledge right now. I do believe there probably is a breakaway civilization or a breakaway society with technology far beyond what we're exposed to. And to me, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's a statement of the facts as I've found them to be. And what that means is moving into the future, it's going to be the same thing for most people, meaning life is about food. It's about energy. It's about cleanliness. It's about access to basic utilities. And I'm an American sitting here saying this, and I'm from the poorest state in the United States. New Mexico is the poorest state. That's where I'm from. And it ain't that poor, at least not compared to, the stuff that I read about. And so what I'm really getting at here is it just reaffirms me as a silver stacker. I have to be careful not to lose my stack. But I want to share with people what I know. And I do wholly believe that silver is the play of a lifetime for us. And I don't think we're looking at any sort of societal collapse, but there's going to be a restructuring. And that restructuring isn't going to be the end of the world, but it's going to be the end of some lives, depending on where you are. It's going to get really ugly, but it's statistics, right? Demographics are destiny. Well, demographically, the destiny of a lot of people that are pretty comfortable right now, I think are going to be a lot less comfortable. And that includes American, especially American. But this is to be continued. Let's jump into the news and see what interesting articles I have for us tonight. All right, whole bunch of news for us. And I'll just real quickly, I want to say one more thing. Can you believe that the momentum of events is we are not moving towards globalization right now? We are moving towards nationalization. And what I mean by that is the Federal Reserve and their raising of rates is putting pressure, and it's really solidifying the spot of the dollar and making it tough, making life hard for all these other countries. And we see the rift between the Federal Reserve and the European Union. And I'm sure many of you do remember the letter that they wrote asking the Fed to stop raising rates. So the fiscal policy has been very nationalistic so far. And then the moves that we were seeing from Biden got me by surprise. I expect weakness from Biden. I expected Beijing Biden, like they called him, to be super weak on China. And that's not what we've seen. We saw that move in the semiconductor and chip market where they called it a decapitation of the high-end computer chip market in China via policy, via mandate. And at the same time, we're beefing up Taiwan, giving them weapons, bolstering them against a potential Chinese invasion. There's the Nord Stream 2. We don't know for sure who that is, but it did prevent Germany from surrendering to Russia in regards to energy. And also all over the world, we don't see nations coming together. We see them looking out for their own interests. We see that from India. We see that from Saudi Arabia. We see that from China and Russia for sure. And also all the vaccine mandates and travel restrictions and the whole COVID narrative in general is not strong anymore. That has waned, and that would have been one of the mechanisms to centralize power and policy, right? That's not happening. We see states, we see individual states in the union reasserting themselves and their sovereignty. States have sovereignty, they ought to, and they're exercising that more and more. And then, of course, here we have the possibility of, it's not even a possibility, it's a reality. We have Elon Musk buying Twitter, and now we're getting some free speech back. And of course, there was never government sanctioned censorship, but de facto, I mean, when you do have the FBI cracking down on Twitter to censor its users, what's the difference? It's censorship, it's government censorship with an extra step. That's all that it was. And I hope you do know that, especially on the Hunter Biden laptop story, that was the FBI pressuring Facebook and Twitter. People from the three-letter agencies pressuring these social media platforms to use your algorithms to suppress stories. So yeah, that's censorship. And does that get reversed? I hope so. There's rumors that this deal will be closed by Friday, and I hope Elon is in the commander's chair from that very first stroke of the clock on 12:01 as the new CEO, and we see all these interesting characters get their accounts back. That would be amazing. I didn't expect to be here. This is really interesting. Okay, let's really get into the news now. Here we have here's a funny tweet from Reddit. You gotta check this out. Open it up. What my neighbors see is I emerge from my house once a week to get a delivery. That's me. No, but I don't go out once a week. This is just on my day off or something. That's so freaking funny, though. You've been on Wall Street Silver all morning, finally going out to your mailbox. The worst is when you think you're going to make a bunch of money trading crypto and you're studying crypto for 72 hours straight, and then you're just missing out on life for the most part. I wanted to trade a lot more, and I said, I need to go for a walk. I need sunshine on my skin. I'd rather not have the money. Here we have a tweet from the great Marti. He writes, "It's all legal, my plebeians. Credit Suisse to raise $4 billion to fund a sweeping overhaul. Oh, this is interesting. Bank to get backing from Saudi National Bank and capital raise. Credit Suisse to revive. First Boston name for advisory spinoff. So they're parting out their business. So it wasn't just a rumor. It wasn't a hallucination. They were in deep, deep shit, and they probably already got bailed out. And they're not going to just tell me and you. Maybe with American money. They probably already got bailed out, and here they are piecing out their business. Which I got to say, maybe overall, that is a good thing that they're going to sell the business off and restructure it. As opposed to what? Now we have like a foreign bank or investment group that the Federal Reserve is bailing them out to. Wouldn't surprise me. Would not surprise me a single bit. Here's a Reddit post from Ditch the Deep State. PSLV buys back 900,000 ounces of silver at $19.38 an ounce. The vaults are being sucked dry. 4.8 tons out of registered and 11.2 tons out of the vault entirely. The registered burn rate is 14 a month. That's heavy, 14 a month. The PSLV purchase is at $19.38 per ounce and somewhat of a discount to COMEX. Not all that's very interesting, but I'll just add in from my perspective. When I see PSLV buying nearly 1 million ounces, that's just as good as it coming off the COMEX. It's off the market, and those prices look so juicy. I wish I could get some silver. Maybe I do. I mean, PSLV isn't this. It's not that. But damn, $19.38 an ounce is amazing. I wish I could just have it both ways. But if you're a PSLV holder, I don't blame you. I wouldn't keep it all in PSLV, I'll tell you that much. Not one bit. Here we have a couple charts. I do invest in stocks. I have a pretty decent size of position. Percentage-wise, wouldn't be shit compared to a lot of you guys. I got a decent percentage, though, in mining stocks. Here we have GDX to GLD. And we do know that the stocks have been outperforming the metal for some time. That's that big downtrend right there. And I think overall, in terms of like, if you have both, you want to see this going up together. That's usually where you're getting some gains, because the metal will go up and because the miners are leveraged to the metal. When the metal goes up, you make a lot of money off the miners without the miners rising as fast as the metals. I hope that makes sense. But the good news there is anytime you do see that this is in a downtrend, well, that means the stocks are holding value, and you actually want that. Some would say that's an indication that gold has found a bottom right there. And I think that's a pretty decent, it's sound logic. It makes logical sense to me. We see the same story right here with SLV and SILJ. I would never touch SLV, but it is a proxy to the price. And we see the same story here with SILJ. I have some SILJ, and we just have a breakout right there. We have a breakout of the price to the relative value of the mining ETF there. Hope that makes sense. And here's a cool chart from the Silver Chartist. And this is an interesting ETF here. This is Total World Stock Market Index. This is an index created by Vanguard, and I did have a look at this index, and I just think that's so cool because this is a way for you to just get a picture. It's never going to be perfect, but you get a picture of how stocks around the whole world are doing. But I know this is weighted to like 70% North American stocks, and so it's not balanced world. It's still North American heavy, but you do have off the Hong Kong exchange. There's Chinese businesses on there. There's probably not any Russian businesses on there, right? There's no way, but still pretty cool. And that's in a very clear downtrend and perhaps running into support right there. And the rumor is that the Fed has already made the soft pivot, meaning they're still raising rates, but probably just not as fast. Probably. Let's check out this video about smart cities, where your government becomes your stalker. The poorer you get, the more you rely on government handouts, trading your freedom for food, and all monitored through your digital ID. Don't believe me? Look, oh, this is Indonesia. All right, let's have a look.
Scored on a scale of 350 to 950, and how you, with a good score of 752, is okay with it. In fact, most people are.
It's out of control.
How she behaves is tracked and scored to show how responsible and trustworthy she is. It's called the social credit system, and in one version now being tested, a person's reputation is scored on a scale of 350 to 950. And Haoyu, with a good score of 752, is okay with it. In fact, most people are.
It's a mechanism like pushes you to become a better citizen.
It's big data meets Big Brother, expanding how the government monitors, understands, and ultimately controls its 1.4 billion citizens. Thanks to advances in artificial intelligence and facial recognition, and a web of more than 200 million surveillance cameras.
Are people bothered by privacy concerns?
We think the lot of camera keep the safety is really good. We can accept it.
Companies are experimenting with the algorithms to help the government create the new national social credit system. The government also has pilot projects. In one, citizens are required to do hours of unpaid work to get benefits. And scores are docked for things like littering, a messy yard, gossip, even jaywalking. Video of offenders is shown on the local news. And information collectors like Zhou Aini are paid to report on their neighbors. Her quota,
Oh my
10
God.
entries a month. Like the man who carried a drunk person home. A good deed, she says. Good social credit gets rewarded with perks like cheap loans and travel deals. But a bad score means public shame and worse. Huang Huijun lost a court case and didn't pay. Now he's on a government blacklist. I can't buy airplane or train tickets, he says, and the list goes on. Being discredited makes it hard to get a job or put kids in top schools. The social credit system will go nationwide next year, and few here are willing to criticize it. Something that may pose a risk itself for a bad score and the life that comes with it. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Beijing. Where she goes.
Damn, guys, that was pretty in your face, wasn't it? Holy shit. I gotta make sure and hang on. I'm gonna bookmark this one. That was far more brazen than I expected, to be honest. They really hit you with it there, didn't they? No punches pulled. And it's Indonesia. You expect that from China, right? Beijing, maybe? Very interesting. That's what our show, that's one of the things this show's about, though. Here's David Ingles. He writes, Credit Suisse reports a net loss of CHF 4 billion. That's 8 times the estimate. How much is that? What is CHF? Well, that's francs, right? Okay, there's a very close parity to the dollar. So you can basically just read that as dollars. That's a lot. Here's what the Credit Suisse loss looks like in a graph. Yikes. So they were in some deep doo-doo even before that. What'd you know? Is Credit Suisse the first of many? Here, this is a funny tweet. All your tweets belong to us. I thought that was an excellent meme. I'm going to hang on to this meme for a while. That's really fucking funny. I'm not going to dig too much into this article, but this is interesting. India and China trade crosses 100 billion during January through September. And so I know the significance of this is that this is the second year in a row they've had over 100 billion in trade. And because I think India is pretty close to being the most populated country in the world, and China in second. And these two nations can really lift each other up quite a bit if they do establish strong trade. And, it just seems like a natural alliance to me in a lot of ways. But to me, it's significant that China is really getting India into the act there, and they could be very powerful working together. I would love to see, and I wish I had done a little more on this, but I would love to see what the actual trade was. I bet it was mostly food. I mean, it always is mostly food and energy, right? We'll keep an eye out. We'll look out for that information next time. Here's a tweet from the Sirius Report, and I don't know where this information comes from, but it says Saudi Arabia has slammed US for using oil reserves to manipulate prices and has warned the US of a painful future. This user underneath, Carlos, writes, the US has a lot of things on their plate. Saudis leaving the petrodollar, Europe gas crisis, Taiwan-China ordeal, Ukraine war, looming financial crisis, Japan about to sell T-bonds, North Korea firing missiles, trying to lure India off of BRICS, not happening. Ongoing coups in Iran and Pakistan. I don't know. I don't like getting super sucked into these comments, but this user writes, US is no longer as dominant as it was decades ago, but yet it still acts like it used to. This user writes, do the Saudis have the balls to pivot? And hopium for the masses writes, they're heavily indicating that they may join BRICS. It would take balls for sure, though, because the US is ruthless. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I love context, and I put this for context. Here's the largest social media apps by number of users. Facebook on top, and they're declining. It's not looking good for Meta. YouTube, I'm surprised WhatsApp is third on this. That is surprising to me. Is that surprising to you guys? TikTok and Facebook Messenger. I know they're trying to make Facebook Messenger into its own ecosystem. But what's not on there? What's not on there? Twitter. There's a lot of room for Twitter. Twitter has so much potential, guys. So much potential. And it used to be fucking fun on Twitter. Were you ever on Twitter when it was fun? Good times. The arguments. Twitter is it used to be one of my favorite places just to... You could find someone with an ideology that you disagreed with, and you could just really go have at it with them on Twitter. And that would never get very belligerent and childish. And some people go there, but it used to be a fun place to debate people, and they sure killed that. And you'd get to directly interact with people that you disagreed with, and I think that's a good thing. And there was times that I learned things from Twitter where I did have the wrong opinion, and someone showed me some information that I didn't have. I really hope for Twitter that they make it the place that it could be. All right, and here is the most interesting clip. I should have put, maybe I might rearrange this whole video just to put this clip first. I need to start leading with the most interesting thing, don't I? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start clipping my videos to lead with the most interesting part. Let's check this out, guys. I'm only gonna play a few minutes for this, but this is key. Okay, guys, here's
if you are
okay, listen to this.
Stupid, I want to be. Feds, yeah. Fed President Mary Daly told Yahoo Finance that she expects the Fed to stay the course when it comes to expectations of interest rate hikes after the latest core inflation reading came in at a 40-year high. Daly said that the data is not cooperating. So they're saying they're going to keep raising rates. Why?
I think they are. And that is if you are the Federal Reserve, you're playing a global game, and what you have to do is protect the reserve currency status. And if you look at what it looks like to me, they've made a decision that basically all the BIS members need to be in the dollar channel, and they're doing everything they can to essentially collapse the market share of the euro and the yen and move that into the dollar syndicate. So, I think they have to keep driving the dollar up. The U.S. dollar index is up at 113. It hit at one point 114, and I think ING came out and said it was going to 120. But they've got the entire frontier market and emerging markets in a bear trap, and that's very significant power. And there's no... this is if you're going to go in the woods and shoot the bear, you can't wound the bear, you got to kill the bear. So I think the Fed is going to keep doing this, and for some time now, because they don't mind, as you know, and from the pandemic, collapsing the small business side of the economy or collapsing the middle class.
So I've been saying that I can't believe I got this right. I've been saying, listen, they say it's inflation, but they're really dollar. They can't lose the dollar. The bond market, they don't care. I mean, if you save the bond market and pay people with confetti, so what did you do? So they are protecting the dollar. They think they're going up to 5.
Well, they are implementing the going direct reset. They are doing a currency reset, and they are doing, what you're looking at is a fundamental reengineering of the governance system on planet Earth.
So wait, but they're raising rates to protect the dollar. Just explain that. They're keeping the raise rates. They know the economy's tanking. They know mortgage rates are going sky high. They know the housing market's dumping. They're protecting the dollar. Is that right? Will you explain that,
yes.
Please? Go.
Right. So many of the economic benefits in the United States and in the dollar syndicate, because the dollar syndicate is not just the U.S. dollar, it's the euro dollar too. But most of the benefits come from the benefit of having a reserve currency and being able to swap money that you print out of thin air for real labor and real commodities worldwide. And that's an enormous benefit. And they're going to protect that benefit. If they don't protect that benefit, then they run the risk of the sort of everybody moving out of the channel. And that's what the Chinese and Russians are trying to do. They're trying to move out of the dollar channel and create economic resiliency and trade outside the channel. And what the Fed is trying to do, and the dollar syndicate is trying to do, is to protect that channel.
That's good.
Guys, that is fire. And that's Catherine Austin Fitts, if you didn't know. And this is her website, the Solari Report. This is posted to her website, and she is also on Twitter at Solari_the, if you want to follow her. But she's simply one of the smartest people that I've ever encountered. Love to check out all of her interviews. And that was just profoundly significant information there. So who knows what path we do eventually take, but there's a lot of people with a lot to lose, especially the commercial banks, and they're going to want to hang on to the dollar supremacy as long as they can. And how we find ourselves in a globalist society, maybe everything gets rolled into the dollar. I don't know. But things are just not going the way that many expected. And I'm pleasantly surprised so far. Thank you, Catherine Austin Fitts. Here we do have, just wanted to give you this key information headline analysis. Chinese Xi, he has new generals and they offer cohesion for possible Taiwan plans. Chinese President Xi has new generals and they've been selected for their political loyalty to him, but those ties could serve at least one vital military purpose in any Taiwan invasion plan, ensuring cohesion and decisiveness. So he's making sure there's not any dissenters in the ranks. If they do move on Taiwan, that it's going to be a solid unit altogether in terms of ideology and outlook. So he has 3 new generals appointed to the top of the command body, and that Xi would never promise to give up the use of force. 4 security analysts and 4 military attaches say Russia's Ukrainian quagmire has shown how vital speed, both in buildup and execution, would be in any Chinese plan, in part to prevent Taiwanese forces and international support from mobilizing. If Xi Jinping is going to pull the trigger on Taiwan, then he can't afford any dissent in the Central Military Commission. I don't know. Could be something, might be nothing. I'm going to bring up this article for a couple reasons here. This is from the Market Insider. And you do have the Goldman Sachs CEO, David Salomon, warns of a U.S. recession is very likely. He says the Fed could hike the rates up above 4.5. That would be significantly higher than many people said was possible. And then to hold them there is a whole other story, isn't it? And I'll read you this very last part of the article so I can say what I want to say. What he said is, now we're in the process of unwinding a multi-decade period, and there are consequences to that. There aren't easy answers. There's no silver bullet. The Goldman chief issued a gloomy economic outlook earlier this month, prompting Amazon founder Jeff Bezos to voice his opinion in agreement. So he said the same thing, and Bezos responds, yes. In the distribution of outcomes, there's a good chance we have a recession in the United States, Salomon said. And Bezos responded, yes, the probabilities in this economy will tell you to batten down the hatches. So he did make these remarks, and I'll just give you a picture. Let me just give you the visual of this real quick. I try to watch this. They had like this round table thing going on with a bunch of investment leaders from around the world, right? Let's see if I can get to the part where they got them all on stage here. So there's David Salomon, and you have I don't know who that guy is, clearly Saudi Arabian, but you have Ray Dalio. You have Ray Dalio there, and just some other financial leaders about climate change, all these different types of advocates. There you are. You get kind of visual there. And I don't know. I searched through this. I listened to nearly this whole forum just to see what they're saying, and the whole thing was just very, very. Jamie Dimon was there, and Jamie Dimon was kind of the only one that had anything interesting to say. But the whole thing, like, they're here as leaders, right? And I don't know if it's just that I'm conditioned to expect entertainment all the time, everywhere. But to me, it was just really boring. And they basically said nothing. They said the very obvious stuff that we should have a good economy and government should set policy, and they're worried about climate change, and It should be equitable. And so it was like 50 minutes of zero information, except that they want to do a good job. And why do I say that? I say that because they don't give you nothing to go on. They give you nothing to talk about in any of these forums. They're never saying their real opinions. You don't know what they're trying to do. So I don't know. Maybe I still sort of watch. When it comes to financial information, you just find out in the moment because you're never going to ever know ahead of time, and they're never going to tell you. And we're always all just guessing, especially right now in the age of information, right? But you can watch easily 50 minutes of world economic leaders and learn absolutely nothing at all. Let's just remind ourselves. This is a tweet from WikiLeaks here. Let's just remind ourselves. According to WikiLeaks US here, it says Jim Comey killed the immunity deal for Julian Assange that would have revealed the source of the leaked DNC emails and solved the murder of Seth Rich. According to WikiLeaks, they killed the deal. And here they are, they're retweeting. This here is from a little place called 8chan, I believe. And that is the most famous 8chan user in all of history there that is writing about Julian Assange, estimated time in June. And we do find out that there was supposed to be some information on Julian Assange. It was coming out in the month of June, but that would have been the immunity deal. And it was spiked by Comey. Maybe something, probably, maybe something or nothing, but very interesting. I still very much follow WikiLeaks, and who knows what kind of who knows what they got saved up for a rainy day. They might have some interesting stuff tucked away still. I would imagine so, because if there's one thing that's for sure is they're I don't want to say this word the wrong way. WikiLeaks appears to be very skilled, highly competent journalists that are engaged in dangerous journalism. And because of that, I fully expect them to have a whole lot more information that they're still sitting on for their own safety. And that's just what I think. And I think to this day, they're still getting more information. That's just my 2 cents. I don't think that we've even come close to hearing the last of the WikiLeaks. There's more to come. You wait and see. I can feel it. And the story of Julian Assange is not over, in my humble opinion. Here we had this was a funny tweet from Michael Burry here. He says, Christian, this is Christian Bale, the actor. Christian wore some of my shirts and a tie and other things for the movie. That's the movie The Big Short. And you'd think I'd preserve those, but I care so little that I just kept wearing them out, and they're probably in a pile somewhere. But I'd have to watch the movie to identify them, and I'm not going to do that. That's like some fun fan fact there. I thought that was a funny tweet. Here we have Michael Gayed. He's saying melt up. He's calling for a melt up this entire time. And look at Doge. Is Dogecoin the de facto Twitter currency now? Can we expect it to be implemented in some capacity into Twitter now that Elon is the chief twit, or is it twit chief twit? I thought this was such an interesting tweet. Again, from Deso, got a vision. He writes, the December copper contract is fractionally backed by less than 3% of actual metal. It's 1.73% of all contracts combined. Credit Suisse fractional reserve lending deposits is 13.5%. Do you realize what he's saying here? He's saying that the actual metal to paper ratio on, this is the COMEX. Yeah, it has to be on the COMEX for also copper is 1.73. So there's less than 2 ounces for every 100 paper contracts against that metal on the exchange. This is insane, guys. It's true of all the metals. I think the metals are truly the Achilles heel, and we do not know which one will blow first. Will it be palladium? Will it be platinum? Will it be copper? Will it be silver? Will it be gold? Will it just surprise everyone? We already did have the nickel blow up. Metal is truly scarce, and especially the ones that are also viewed as monetary metals are of special significance. And we're going to have some fireworks around that. It's coming for sure for several reasons, not the least of which is that there is, in fact, a physical shortage. But adding gasoline to the fire is all the paper contracts, the ratio of paper contracts to physical metal on the vaults. And here we have a visual of that copper situation. Oh, well, this visual is not as compelling as I thought it would be, but That is the data. It's not even a visual, it's just data. We'll check out the next thing. Here we have a tweet from Breaking Market News. They write, the German government is sending out gas relief payments to be paid out in December this year. So they're already planning to have crazy high prices to the point where people are going to have their ordinary bills subsidized by the government. I just wanted to point out the situation with Meta real quick. Here we do have, as Meta's revenues decline, as their decline accelerates, the shares shrink 14%. A weak holiday quarter forecast knocked about 40 billion for Meta's stock market value in extended trade. So Meta basically just lost 40 billion in value off their price cap. And okay, I just got to relate everything back to silver because of the earnings. It's the first ever quarterly drop. Meta one-day stock crash may rank as one of the worst days in history of the market. But let's just remember, for context, since we have to relate everything back to silver, there's only 35 million ounces of silver on the COMEX right now. And what is it selling for? 20 bucks a piece? So one of the most important assets in the world and the main exchange that it's bought and sold on, the price is so suppressed that it's like worth $1 billion and that's it. And we have Meta just misses earnings, right? And you know, the whole world doesn't revolve around silver. I know that it does revolve around energy. It doesn't revolve around silver. Let's just remember, none of this is possible without silver. So how is the total value of all the silver, which is in every piece of electronics, it's less than $1 billion. And Meta, just because they didn't get as many new users and pull as much profits off them as they were expecting, it loses 40 billion. It's like 50 times as much just in one little mini crash. It's wild. And that is why they are not allowed to even talk about silver. And here we have a tweet from the Gay Republican. The Gay Republican writes, just an FYI, PayPal put back the $2,500 fine into its terms and services after the outcry died down. And I did look into this. I didn't just take his word for it. It's true. It is back in there. He's using hashtag delete PayPal. And I went and had a look for myself. They did put it back in the terms of service. And so if they find you that you did violate, and just to reiterate, if they think that you violated their terms of service, and it's not just that you sold like forfeited counterfeited merchandise, or found a way to double charge or committed some sort of fraud. It's simply if they just don't like you, if they think that you're peddling some sort of content that they don't approve of, they're going to cancel your account and steal all your money after they said they wouldn't do it. I think I'm going to delete my PayPal. What do I need a PayPal for anyway? Let's delete that damn thing. Fuck these guys. Here we have a tweet from Peter Schiff, and this is PredictIt. And he's looking at, or I'll just read it. Looking at the betting odds of Republicans taking the U.S. Senate, this clearly reflects a deteriorating U.S. economy. Contrary to POTUS's claims, inflation is getting stronger and the economy is already in recession and is getting weaker. Voters will send the Democrats packing. And so you do see at some point it was kind of a tight race here. But at least according to the odds makers, Republicans are set to take back the House and possibly the Senate too. Oh, this is for the Senate, not the House. Okay, definitely the Senate. We'll find out about the House. All right, let's check out this video from Rob Kientz. This is retweeted by JM Bullion, and the title of this video is "This is why gold in China is priced higher." Explained in 2 minutes. Let's see what Rob Kientz says about this.
Trade is in terms of a percentage of the overall. So if you look at gold, look at the delivery volume of contracts, 721,876, trading volume of 931. So about 77% of the gold contracts in the Shanghai market are delivered in physical.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't get this size right.
52%. It gets nowhere near that in the.
Okay, let me start over. Sorry about that.
Shanghai, it's only down 2% from its high on October 3rd. Note that gold peaked on October 3rd in both the Western and the Chinese markets, but that China fell less because it's a more robust positive market for gold price. And that's why gold in China is priced higher when you do the conversion to US dollars than it is in the Western markets. Those Chinese markets are more delivery, as we're going to show you by the data. We simply go to the Shanghai Gold Exchange and pull their monthly report, and you can see how much the trade is in terms of a percentage of the overall. So if you look at gold, look at the delivery volume of contracts, 721,876, trading volume of 931. So about 77% of the gold contracts in the Shanghai market are delivered in physical. 77.52%. It gets nowhere near that in the deliveries on this market. If we look at the deliveries for any given day on the market on the gold chart here for the US, you see 175 deliveries out of 363,000 contracts. That's not even a percent. It's not even a half. And we change the days, go to Thursday.
Since that was not, I need to figure out a way to get the video bigger and still do the split screen. But I'll break that down for you just in case, because you didn't get a good view there. Rob Keynes was pointing out that 77% of the contracts for gold on the Shanghai exchange, people take delivery. It's an exchange where you actually take possession of the commodity. Unlike here, where they're just trading paper back and forth all day long, making it a game. It's supposed to be an exchange, and all that's getting exchanged is one piece of paper for another. And now it's not even paper. They're just playing computer games with each other and calling it an exchange and holding down the prices of all the commodities. That's what they're doing. So not even 1% of the contracts on the COMEX are settled in the actual physical commodity, whereas in the Shanghai exchange, 77% of all contracts are settled physically. I'm writing that down. That's one of the most important things that we can know about this whole thing right here. 77% of Shanghai contracts are settled in the physical, whereas less than 1% of COMEX contracts are settled in physical. There's a statistic that even a normie should get that. Even a normie, if you told that to a normie, they should say, there's something up there, isn't it? Why, I think so. Okay, and here for the final article of the night. This is off of Yahoo News here, and I don't know the veracity of this information, but this is according to the Insider. White House officials thought they had struck a secret oil deal with Saudi Arabia, only for Biden to be humiliated when the kingdom abandoned it. So he never even knew it was coming, eh? How embarrassing. White House officials believe they had struck a deal with Saudi, we heard that already, but Saudi leader Mohammed bin Salman then backtracked on it, taking them by surprise. The Saudi decision to cut oil output before the midterms angered the White House. Well, that's all they can do is get angry. They're not capable of much more. What are they capable of other than anger? Maybe they can cancel OPEC. Maybe Biden can get the Washington Post to write a article to besmirch the character of bin Salman. call him a racist. Oh, okay. I knew there was something else. Okay, here's an interesting. We'll read the top comment right here. Michael writes, any strategy to provide Americans short-term benefits or relief is not more than a bribe for a vote. Say that louder. Can you hear that in the back? This is the same stride as releasing U.S. oil reserves and states canceling gas tax until the end of the year. The student loan forgiveness program is the most serious example of this act, in my opinion. It's not even opinion. That's objective reality. All right, guys, that will be the end of the show. Thank you for coming along this journey with me. I thought it was a good show today. There was my energy felt good. I was not pleased with my last couple shows. I did not feel that it was, I don't know, something was off. I was off. But tonight's show is much better. Good energy and very interesting news. And so I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to try and be here every single day that I can be here, bringing you the most interesting geopolitical, precious metal, sound money news that I can possibly find from all over the internet. And I do hope that you are in good health. And if you're not in good health, I do hope that you feel better very soon. I very much want that for you. And thanks for coming along with the ride. And we'll take another one soon. Have a good night. Goodbye.